What is up, Cinco Nation? Welcome to Flicks Feed. I'm Warren Cinco, and welcome to the first video in my series of awesome 80s action/sci-fi movies. Today we're going to review
The Wraith.
The Wraith was a 1986 sci-fi/action movie directed by Mike Marvin, and it stars Charlie Sheen, Nick Cassavetes, Sherilyn Fenn, and Randy Quaid. And it's pretty much your classic revenge tale of a young man who was murdered by this road racing gang, after which he comes back as this ghost, or Wraith, in the form of Jake Casey, played by Charlie Sheen. Now what's really cool about this movie is this Wraith uses an alien sports car which he drives as a weapon to kill each member of this road racing gang. Now I know what you guys are thinking, that sounds so silly, but why is it I think that this movie is so entertaining despite its silly premise? Well, aside from it being a revenge movie, and I love revenge movies, I like the concept that this kick-ass sports car from out of this world kills its enemies by either it driving through them or them driving to it, and both of them explodes, and then later on the car remanifests itself and moves on to kill its next victim. So I know that concept is pretty silly, but it's pretty awesome. But before we talk about its awesomeness, let's go ahead and get the negatives out of the way. So although this alien car design is pretty awesome, and we'll talk more about the car and the positives, you can actually see the manufacturer's symbol in the front of the car in some of the scenes. So with that said, it kind of took me out of the movie, because instead of it being a car from out of this world, a unique car built by aliens, it's actually a car made in the USA. And the manufacturer itself, I will tell you guys in a little bit. So with that, it definitely took me out of the movie every time I see it, but also reminded me that this movie may just be a ploy for the car manufacturer to showcase their car. Some free advertising right there. My other negative is Nick Cassavetes' character Packard Walsh, which really is just another throwaway villain. It's not really original, he's not scary, he's not menacing, he's just kind of like a bully. Aside from that, I don't know how old he was when he played this role, but himself, he looked more like a daddy to these road racing gang who are supposed to be in their high school years or early college years. So if you were to watch him, like I said, I don't know how old he is, but in this movie you'll see it looks pretty much like an adult. He seems like one of those guys with a midlife crisis who drives like sports cars and try to be young when they really aren't. In addition to that, the acting wasn't really that good. Aside from Charlie Sheen and Randy Quaid, who are veterans, none of these characters were convincing, nor did I care about their characters, because the script wasn't good and their acting wasn't good. The script, there's nothing deep about it, there's nothing engaging, so the characters are kind of written poorly. Finally, as I mentioned earlier, the characters, you don't really care about them, especially when it came to the road racing gang, who are pretty much there like any other bad, cheap horror movie, and that is they're just there to be killed one by one. So other than that, when they die, it's like, yeah, who's next? There's no really any reason for them to be mourned or for you guys to feel bad about them, because there's no development in any of the characters, and like I said, they're just throwaway villains, all of them. Having said that, let's talk about the positives. Like I mentioned earlier, Charlie Sheen and Randy Quaid were standouts. They were good in their roles as always. But the real star of the movie is the Wraith and the car. Or the car is the Wraith is the car. The design is unique at the time, and it's pretty cool. And the way it kills and the action on how the car was used was pretty dope. Obviously in these times, it doesn't compare to cars of today and tomorrow. However, for the time, it was definitely unique, and you've never seen this kind of design before, so it's kind of ahead of its time. Turns out this car is a prototype for the M4S, which was originally designed by Bob Ackerson in 1981, and it was actually built to be a pace car. The designation M4S denotes mid-engine 4-cylinder sport, which you'd think is really slow because it's a 4-cylinder car, just like my Kia. The difference is because it was originally designed to be made as a pace car, it was designed to reach speeds up to 200 miles per hour, which was pretty awesome for a 4-cylinder vehicle. But it's also twin turbo, and I think it was 440 horsepower, and at the time it's $300,000. So just like any expensive ass car that's out there, like a Lamborghini or a Ferrari. So not bad for a 4-cylinder vehicle. It's too bad though that this car was never mass produced. I think it would have been an awesome car for the super rich or even just anybody who had the money at the time, and it would have been awesome to see this car out in the streets. The other positive in this movie includes the 80s soundtrack, which any 80s song played at that time to me is pretty great. The score was awesome, the music was awesome, so I can't really complain about that. And the action, of course, the sci-fi element behind this movie is pretty spectacular. I like how the car kills, how fast it goes, just the mystery behind the car, and the fact it's an alien car. I mean, that's pretty dope. I'm giving the Wraith tickets to the gun show.
You son of a bitch.
The Wraith may have a silly script, a silly premise, and maybe a vehicle, no pun intended, for Dodge to showcase their concept vehicle. But at the same time, it is the car that made this movie. If for anything, go watch this movie just for the car and what it can do. It's pretty damn entertaining. Although Charlie Sheen and Randy Quaid did their thing, and they're pretty good as always, the car is the star of the show. So definitely go for at least the car. I highly recommend it. So the Wraith, have you seen it? What did you think about it? I would love to read your comments below, but please be careful with spoilers. If you like my review of the Wraith, go ahead and smash that like button and support this channel by subscribing and telling your family and friends about FlixFeed. And as always, if you want to see more, you can click right here
And get single fun.